Alright, welcome back to the Western European DBC coverage of the WePlay Animajor. Today we had Alliance's second series of the tournament, the first one of the lower bracket. After losing that first series to PSG LGD where they really just looked outclassed and really rusty and looking like they were really stuck in the past with their last season's meta, Team Alliance were really looking to rejuvenate their playstyle. This time I think they were playing against a much less experienced team in Team Spirit as opposed to PSG LGD, so I think that did really favor Team Alliance in that sense. However, Team Alliance still just continued to struggle throughout this series. Coming into this series, Team Alliance had a lot to prove. After a lot of complaints from casters and myself even about their drafting style in that first series, I gotta give them credit. They kind of came into the series with a different approach. They went into it with a Viper, which if you guys have been watching any of the tournament at all, you know that it's really an American flair. Both NA and SA are loving this Viper hero, as well as Hoodwink. Didn't make an appearance in this series, but that's another hero that's just from that region. Then they also had the early pick Leshrac, which is a very Chinese style. So it really seemed like they were pulling their strats from a bunch of different regions today. However, even with this new dynamic drafting strategy, there were still a lot of holes in their first game's draft. If you take a look at the board here with the stats of the two bottom supports, the two bottom supports combined on the side of Team Spirit went 14, 1, and 31. In a game where Alliance got 10 kills on the board, only one of them was on the supports. And it's not like they're these backline supports that don't really do a whole lot of damage, like for example a Warlock. You might get Fatal Bonds off, but it's not really much more than that. It was a Mirana and Ancient Apparition combo. If you don't kill these two supports, they are going to kill you. They are going to set you up for their cores to kill you. And if you look at the Alliance draft, they don't have any backline jump. The most backline jump that they have is the Faceless Void. But if he had to waste his Chronosphere on the supports, he was never going to catch both of them because they were never that close together. And also he was playing against a Wind Ranger who, if she didn't have to worry about Chronosphere, there was no way she was going to die when she had BKB. And so you could argue that this first game was the closest of the three because it went the longest and Alliance kind of had something going for them at the start. But really it was just close until Team Spirit got their BKBs. After that, it did not look very close at all. Team Spirit really just out-farmed and out-fought Alliance in that first game. Every single hero on the side of Team Alliance went negative in KDA. So even though this game went 42 minutes, like I said, it really just didn't feel close. It really just felt like Team Spirit were really just checking their boxes, crossing their T's and dotting their I's so that they could make sure that they close this game out properly before dropping it. And so heading into game 2, Team Alliance actually steal the Wraith King from Team Spirit. Wraith King was initially picked by Team Spirit to counter pick the Nico Baby Faceless Void, which it worked very well. But they picked it so early on in the draft that Team Spirit was able to pick up a Terrorblade, which is a hard counter to the Wraith King. However, throughout this game, it was really back and forth, but it was really this one defining team fight in the upper jungle on the Dire side, where Team Spirit tried to go in, but they were missing all of their support heroes. All of that sustain was just gone. And so the Toronto Tokyo Puck and the Yatoro Terrorblade tried to go in by themselves, and they just got bursted before their supports could show up to save them and counter initiate. And really from there, it was just a snowball in Alliance's favor. They were able to take a whole bunch of map control just off of that fight on its own. And eventually they would get that second Roshan, which in this patch is just so pivotal. That second Roshan is absurdly strong because not only does it give you that extra shard now, it also coincides really hard with a lot of timings that a lot of these popular heroes hit. And so even though the mid and the hard carry of Team Spirit do come off with positive KDAs and pretty good net worths and GPMs, just by sheer map control, the Alliance were able to slowly close out the game. And just like Team Spirit did to them in the game before, really not missing any spots and really making sure that they close it out properly. They didn't give a single window of opportunity to Team Spirit. And so I would say that this one was the closest because this game should have really been a lot closer than it ended up being. It was literally just one team fight that spiraled this game out of control. That one team fight where Team Spirit did not have their supports and it was just pretty much GG from there. And you can argue about which game between game 1 or game 2 is closer, but there was no game that was more lopsided than this last one. And things were looking good. In the draft, Team Alliance had very strong drafts. They had the Ursa versus the melee offlaner. They had the last pick Limp Batrider against a Tiny in lane. And they got the Dragon Knight too, which in this patch is doing absolutely insane. It has a crazy win rate in this tournament. But on top of that, Alliance, if you remember their season, they were the only team that was picking DK a lot in that season. They had picked DK in like a third of their games when no other team was playing it back then. And they were mainly flexing it to the off lane, but sometimes playing it mid, similar to what Nigma is doing right now. And so it's not like this was an uncomfortable draft. They've played this draft before. However, even though the lanes were supposed to be set up to their success, it just did not go that way at all. And from there, things spiraled out of control even quicker than in other games. Yatoro's Troll Warlord ends the game with a 799 GPM, whereas Nico Baby's Ursa finishes the game with a 449 GPM. He had a 350 GPM lead. That was almost as much as Limp's Batrider's entire hero. He had an entire Batrider almost of items on his hero, in addition to the items that he already had. So yeah, this game wasn't close. Alliance is only able to get 2 kills in this game. And in general, just a very solid series, especially on the supports of Team Spirit. In game 1 and game 3, both of the supports combined, so that's 4 heroes across 2 games, had 2 deaths. And it's not like they were just split pushing lanes either. They had a crazy high amount of assists. Mira's Dark Willow puts up a 20 KDA, 2, 1, and 18. And Mipushka's Winter Wyvern goes 0, 0, and 17. They were just playing absolutely out of their minds. They were giving no room, and they knew that Team Alliance had 0 catch other than the Blink Dagger, so they would just hide in the trees. And eventually this Troll Warlord was just so huge that no one could fight him, not even Ursa. And just like that, in a 29-minute and 12-second game, Team Alliance is the 3rd team of the tournament now to be going home that finished 1st place in their division. The 3rd team in the 1st round of the lower bracket to be going home after finishing 1st place in their region. Right now, EG versus No Ping is going on. I'm recording this between game 1 and game 2. And right now, No Ping is also at risk of being one of those 1st seed teams that's going home in the 1st round of the lower bracket. That would make it so that 4 out of the 4 teams that lost the 1st round in the upper bracket were all 1st seed teams. And those 4 teams all going home immediately in the lower bracket. I talked about VP, how they're a very young team, and even though they were doing very well, they were in a very easy region, and playing online is a lot different than playing in LAN. Even without a crowd, it's a lot different. And they were only able to win 1 game in this entire major. Same thing for Alliance. They played 5 games and they went 1-4. And the fate goes the same for every other 1st seed team. The only 1st seed teams that are still alive right now are T1 and Quincy Crew, and that's because that was 2 1st seed teams playing against each other, which meant that one of them had to be eliminated, one of them had to move on. And it's the same thing again for those 2 as they face each other. So one of these 1st seed teams is going to be going to the upper bracket final. The other one is going to get dropped to the 3rd round of the lower bracket. And so it's going to be interesting to see whoever loses that series, if they immediately get knocked out or if they're able to pick up the momentum from what they had in the upper bracket and continue to ride it through the lower bracket. Also, with all these 1st seed teams getting knocked out, a lot of the lower seeded teams of the TI10 DPC point standings, a lot of teams are starting to crawl up, and Team Nigma now needs to reach the finals if they want to make it to TI based on points. They got a 300 points for finishing top 6 thus far at least, and they need at least 150 more, which is 2nd place at the least. And I'm going to be doing a preview of their series later tonight where they play against PSG LGD, so stick around for that. And that's going to do it for me. So if you guys enjoyed, please subscribe, especially if you don't want to miss that video I'm uploading later tonight. And yeah, Team Spirit move on, and they're going to be playing against Vici Gaming, the 2nd team to come out of the wildcard stage. And notably, Vici Gaming just beat their rival, Virtus Pro, who has beat Team Spirit every time they faced them. So Team Spirit may be a little bit nervous about this. However, I do think there's a lot more potential in them. Of course, these guys played the group stage, whereas VP did not. So I think these guys might have a little bit more momentum on their side. Again, Team Spirit took a game off of PSG LGD. They're one of the only 3 teams to do that in the group stage. So I have a lot of high expectations. I'm hoping that series tomorrow between them and Vici goes to 3. So yeah, back-to-back disappointing majors for Team Alliance. Last one when they got knocked out in the group stage, and this time where they get knocked out in the 1st round of the upper bracket down to the lower bracket and then immediately knocked out thereafter. They are 99.9% guaranteed going to TI. It's not clinched yet. They would need an absolute miracle on the side of the other teams chasing them in order to get knocked out of their DPC standing points. So they've got a lot of work on. This is back-to-back lands where they're unable to do anything. So yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave your predictions down below for who's going to win the Team Spirit and Vici Gaming series. Like I said, I'm going to be uploading Team Nigma versus PSG LGD preview later tonight, so don't miss that. And yeah, subscribe, leave a like, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.